Imagine you used to post everything: the expensive dinners, the new purchases, the trips, the watches, the car, the lifestyle. People knew what you were buying, where you were going, and sometimes even how much things cost. Then one day, you stop. No announcement, no explanation. You simply become quiet. You still have your life. You still have your money. You may even be doing better financially than before. But now, nobody knows. And that's when something interesting can happen. People who were comfortable when your wealth was visible may suddenly become uncomfortable with your privacy. They start asking questions, watching more closely, making assumptions. And sometimes, they become strangely interested in proving that something must have changed. Because when you stop showing people your money, you remove the scoreboard. And people who were secretly keeping score don't always like that. The first reaction may be confusion. What happened? Why doesn't he post anymore? Why isn't she talking about money? Did something go wrong? They may start looking for an explanation, because people who were used to measuring your status through what you displayed suddenly have no information. And uncertainty creates stories. Maybe you lost money. Maybe the business failed. Maybe the car isn't yours anymore. Maybe things aren't as good as they looked. Notice what happened. You didn't say anything, but they created an entire story anyway. That's one of the strange things about social comparison. When information disappears, people sometimes replace it with assumptions. And the more invested someone was in your visible lifestyle, the more curious they may become about why the display stopped. Then comes the testing. Someone may casually ask, "So, how's business?" Nothing strange about that. Until the questions become very specific. Did you sell the car? Are you still investing? How much did that cost? You don't travel anymore. What happened to that watch? Sometimes the question isn't really about the answer. It's about locating you on the social ladder. They want to know, are you still above me? Are you still doing better than me? Should I still see you as wealthy? And if you answer vaguely, they may become even more curious, because you've stopped giving them the measurements they used to rely on. You haven't become poorer, you've simply become harder to measure. And when people can't get information directly, sometimes they go looking for it elsewhere. Suddenly, I heard things aren't going well. Maybe he lost his money. I think the business is struggling. That's why she stopped posting. Notice how quickly silence becomes evidence. You didn't say you were broke. You didn't say you lost anything. You simply became private, but someone else's imagination filled the gap. This is where jealousy and ego can become interesting. Sometimes people don't actually want you to fail. They simply feel relieved by the possibility that you did, because your success created an uncomfortable comparison. Your supposed failure restores their emotional balance. Suddenly, maybe I'm not doing so badly after all. Then something else happens. They become distant. Messages slow down. Invitations disappear. Conversations become shorter. The relationship seems to lose its energy. And sometimes, that's useful information. Because when someone is interested in you only when your lifestyle is visible, they're not necessarily interested in you. They're interested in what being around you represents: access, status, experiences, association. And when the display disappears, so does their enthusiasm. It can hurt. But there's a strange gift inside it. You discover who was attracted to your life, and who was actually connected to your character. And sometimes, they respond by turning their own volume up. Suddenly they're posting more. New clothes, new gadgets, new restaurants, new purchases, new reasons to remind everyone, I'm doing well too. It becomes a silent competition. You became quieter. They became louder. You stopped displaying. They increased the display. And here's the funny part. You may not even be competing. You're sitting at home eating dinner while someone else is accidentally competing with you in their own head. That's when you realize something important. You cannot participate in a competition you never entered. Another reaction can be even more subtle. Fake sympathy. Someone suddenly becomes concerned. Are you okay? I noticed you've been quiet. I hope everything is all right financially. It sounds caring, and sometimes it genuinely is. But sometimes the question contains a hidden fishing expedition. They aren't really asking, "How are you?" They're asking, "What happened? How much did you lose? Are you still wealthy? Should I feel sorry for you now?" The difference is subtle. Genuine concern doesn't need financial details. Curiosity disguised as concern usually does. And then there is the sudden generosity. "Don't worry, I've got this. Let me pay. You don't have to spend." Again, generosity itself isn't suspicious. Friends should sometimes treat each other, but context matters. If someone suddenly starts emphasizing how much they can afford, especially after you've stopped displaying your own money, it may be less about generosity and more about restoring the balance in their head. They want to feel like, "I'm not beneath you." Perhaps even, "Now you're the one receiving." And there's nothing wrong with letting someone pay for dinner. Just don't confuse someone's need to establish superiority with genuine generosity. One of the strangest reactions is relief. You may notice that someone seems more relaxed around you, less competitive, less tense, less interested in proving something. Why? Because when your wealth was visible, they may have constantly compared themselves to it. Your lifestyle became a measurement of their own. When the measurement disappears, their anxiety disappears with it. You didn't change their life. You simply stopped providing the comparison. And that tells you something. If someone's emotional state improves when they believe you're doing worse, the problem was never your money. The problem was the comparison. But here's where the story can turn. Instead of accepting your privacy, they accuse you of performing it. You're pretending to be humble. You're just acting modest. We know you still have money. And ironically, they may be right about one thing. You probably do still have money. That's the point. You didn't stop showing off because you became broke. You stopped because you realized you don't need everyone to know. Privacy isn't pretending. Privacy is choosing what belongs to you and what belongs to the public. There's a profound psychological difference between "I have something and need you to know" and "I have something and I don't need you to know." Eventually, some people simply move on. They find another person to watch, someone who posts everything, someone who displays every purchase, someone whose lifestyle provides constant material for comparison, and suddenly you're no longer interesting. At first that can feel insulting, but think about it. If someone disappears because you stopped displaying your wealth, perhaps losing their attention wasn't the loss you thought it was. You didn't lose a friend, you lost an audience member. And there's a big difference, and sometimes they become detectives. They notice your clothes, your phone, your car, where you're eating, what you don't buy anymore. They remember what you used to wear. They notice when you drive the same car for another year. They see you wearing an older watch, and they start looking for evidence. There it is. I knew something happened. But here's the irony. Maybe you simply stopped wasting money. Maybe you discovered that keeping a perfectly good car is smarter than replacing it every year. Maybe you learned that a private investment is more satisfying than a public purchase. Maybe you're wealthier precisely because you stopped trying to look wealthy. That's the part people often miss. Financial security and financial display are two completely different things. At this point, you may begin to understand something. They weren't necessarily watching your money. They were watching what your money represented. Status, freedom, access, power, security, possibility, And when you stopped displaying those symbols, you took away their ability to compare. That's why the reaction can sometimes seem disproportionate. You didn't announce bankruptcy. You didn't lose everything. You simply stopped posting. Yet suddenly, people are investigating your life. That's because the psychological object wasn't really the money. It was the meaning attached to the money. This is where Jung becomes particularly useful. The unconscious mind doesn't always react directly to reality. It reacts to what reality means to us. Someone else's wealth can become a mirror. Their confidence can become a mirror. Their freedom can become a mirror. Their success can become a mirror. And sometimes what we dislike in the other person points towards something we haven't reconciled within ourselves. Perhaps their financial freedom reminds us of our own financial insecurity. Their discipline reminds us of our impulsiveness. Their privacy reminds us of our need for validation. Their independence reminds us of our dependence on approval. And if the reflection becomes uncomfortable, the easiest response isn't always self-examination. Sometimes it's attacking the mirror. There's another reason this matters. Quiet wealth changes the power dynamic. When people know exactly what you have, they can categorize you, they can compare, they can imitate, they can envy, they can calculate what they think you should spend. But when your financial life becomes private, they have less information. And information is power. You don't have to explain your income. You don't have to explain your investments. You don't have to justify why you didn't buy something. You don't have to prove you can afford it. The ability to afford something and the ability to resist buying it are very different forms of wealth, but there's a test you can perform without saying a word. Stop showing people your money, not because you're trying to make them jealous, not because you want to create mystery, and certainly not because you're pretending to be poor. Simply become private and watch who still calls, who still asks how you're doing, who still enjoys ordinary conversations, who still wants to spend time with you when there is nothing impressive to photograph, who is still happy for you when they don't know exactly how much you're making. That's valuable information, because when the performance disappears, the relationship becomes easier to see. There is a strange freedom that arrives when you no longer need to look wealthy. You can wear the same clothes twice. You can keep the same car. You can eat somewhere ordinary. You can take a quiet vacation. You can invest money nobody knows about. You can save money nobody sees. You can build businesses nobody knows exist. And you can walk through the world without constantly communicating, "Look what I can afford," because eventually you understand something. Money is most powerful when it gives you choices, not when it gives you an audience. And don't misunderstand the lesson. There is nothing wrong with enjoying your money. There is nothing wrong with buying beautiful things. There is nothing wrong with celebrating success. You don't have to become allergic to luxury. The question is, who are you buying it for? Yourself or the audience? Are you enjoying the experience, or are you hoping someone notices? Are you buying freedom, or are you buying approval? Those are very different motivations. The problem isn't showing your success occasionally. The problem is needing to show it constantly to feel successful. Eventually, you'll notice something beautiful. The people who genuinely care about you don't need your financial information to enjoy your presence. They don't need to know your salary. They don't need to know the price of your car. They don't need to see your bank balance. They don't need proof that you're winning. They simply like you. And that's rare. Because real friendship isn't, "What can I gain from being associated with you?" It's, "I'm glad you're here." Your money may change. Your career may change. Your possessions may change. But the right people remain interested in the person underneath all of it. So if you've stopped showing off your money, and some people suddenly behave differently, don't rush to assume jealousy. Observe. Some may simply be curious. Some may genuinely be concerned. Some may have misunderstood your silence. And yes, some may reveal that your lifestyle was more important to them than you were. But whatever you discover, don't let it push you back into performing. You don't owe the world a financial status update. You don't have to prove you're still doing well. You don't have to correct every rumor. You don't have to show the bank balance. You don't have to buy something expensive just to silence someone's assumptions. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them create their stories. While you quietly create your life, you don't become wealthy by convincing everyone you're wealthy. You become wealthy when you no longer need everyone to know. Have you ever noticed someone treating you differently after you stopped showing people what you could afford? Tell me what changed. And if you enjoy exploring the psychology behind money, status, jealousy and human behavior, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more coming.